Hello and welcome to Infinite-Sided Dice, where we tell stories and the dice decide our fate. Thank you for joining us for this new series we're calling Infinite-Sided Advice. Our goal with these videos is to help you have the best possible tabletop role-playing game experiences. This first series is about creating your very own epic campaign that will keep your players engaged, be fun for the game master, and take less time than you might think. In part 1, we'll be discussing the 10 questions to ask your players before you even begin planning your campaign. Are you ready? Let's get going. Question 1. Tell me a story from your character's past. This can be short and simple. For instance, when I was young, I tried to protect my younger sibling from getting beat up, and I got beat up really bad instead. To something longer, like I went to a boarding school and there was a cadre of bullies and the teachers turned a blind eye and my parents were missing, all the way up to a scripted scene. For instance, "Hey you, get away from them," I yelled as I charged across the quad. All of these are valid and incredibly useful. You might get campaign locations, NPCs, and character motivations. In addition, you begin to learn what kind of player they are. Question 2. What is a lie your character believes about themselves? For example, I am responsible for the protection of everyone around me. This is excellent for getting your players started on their roleplay journey. They might know every spell or bit of equipment or piece of cyberware their character has equipped, but perhaps they haven't taken time to consider their character's internal conflicts. In addition, this can be a great start for a character arc. More on that later. Question 3. What is a wound your character has suffered, either physical or emotional? Here the player may give you a new life event, or they may refer back to their original story. For instance, I have a scar above my eyebrow that reminds me of the time I tried to protect my sibling. This is great. It means that players are not only internalizing the events of their character's backstory, but starting to think about how those events have impacted their character. This also becomes a great source of roleplay opportunities. Many times multiple characters will have similar wounds that need healing. You can just put them in a quiet room together and see what comes up. Question 4. How has that wound affected your character? Are they flawed in some way by it? An example here might be, my fear that I can't protect my friends keeps me from getting close to people and closes me off. Here we give the players a chance to really explore how their backstory will affect their character, and more importantly, how they will perform as their character. This is also information the Game Master can use to create conflict and tension with the character and the party. They show the Game Master these wounds, and then the Game Master can decide whether to rub the proverbial salt in them or give them a chance to heal. Ideally, you do both. Question 5. What is your character afraid of? Now, in our example, the player has already described something they were afraid of. In that case, they may just say, "See above," which is fine. A little bit of repetition is okay. However, most of the time, this will encourage players to come up with something more tangible. What's more fun than a hero that's inexplicably afraid of rats? Question 6. What is a secret that you keep that nobody, not even your friends, know? This is a juicy one. Players will give you everything from some secret shame that they carry, to jobs that went wrong that they're responsible for, or even a secret heritage that they keep from everyone. Keep in mind that these secrets do not even need to come out during the campaign to be really useful roleplay tools. Just knowing those secrets will give their characters more depth. Of course, these can also be central plot hooks. Every secret is a potential sword of Damocles. Question 7. What is something you've always wanted to do in a campaign? This is a great way to find out what kind of player is behind the character. Are they looking to blow up a corporation or slay an ancient red dragon? Or maybe something less tangible, like explore what it means to be human or roleplay a scene where everyone cries tears of joy? The point is, if you want to keep a player engaged in your campaign, just ask them what they want. Alternatively, if you're a player and your GM doesn't ask you, tell them. Now, of course, with a bunch of players at the table, they're all going to want different things, and they can't all happen at the same time. But simply by asking this question, the GM lets the players know that they're taking their wants and needs into consideration, and the players in turn will be more patient waiting for their moment to come. Question 8. Tell me about your best experience at the table. This is similar to the previous question, but might be easier to answer for some people. Many times players who have trouble expressing what they want from a game will be quick to regale you with a story. For instance, the time their rocker boy convinced a bunch of their fans to dress up in mascot costumes and crash a corpo party, or the time their paladin with 1 hit point left scored a critical hit and stacked it with smite and killed the BBEG, or the time their character failed to sneak into a room and instead set the curtains on fire and caused all kinds of mayhem. All of these examples are clues as to the type of game this player will thrive in. In fact, even if you don't do formal questions for your campaign, do this one. Often you can find answers to many of the other questions hidden within these stories. Question 9. What are your personal lines and veils? If you don't know what lines and veils are, here's a quick summary. A line refers to something that a player does not want to have in their game. This may be because of some personal trauma, a bad gaming experience, or any number of reasons. A veil is a topic that, while uncomfortable, can be included in the story. They just don't want to interact with it directly. Events related to a veil happen off camera, so to speak. I'm sorry if this seems like a controversial topic, but honestly it shouldn't be. It's well worth the 10 seconds it will take to find out what an individual needs to avoid in order to have a good time. Also, it is essential that you ask this question now, before you begin to plan your campaign. It would be a real tragedy to spend a week writing a story based around a topic that a player is just not going to enjoy. Honestly, when playing with a friend group, it's unlikely you'll come up against this issue, but like I said, it takes 10 seconds to find out for sure. It's literally taken me longer to explain this question than it will take to ask and answer it. Now, how do we resolve any issues when they do come up? Well, lucky for us, we haven't started writing our campaign yet, so no harm. But if you have your heart set on running a campaign that directly violates one of the player's lines, perhaps because it features heavily in what one of the other players want, gently explain the issue, part as friends, and be ready to play another game at some other time. Question 10. Scheduling. This might be the hardest part. Scheduling around 3 or 4 or 6 or 8 people's busy schedules can be next to impossible. So before you go to the trouble of getting backstories and pouring your heart into a campaign, make sure you have compatible schedules. Well, that about does it for this episode of Infinite Sided Advice. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can also support us on Patreon. Check for the link in the description below. Also, if you have any questions that you think make for a great Session 0, make sure to drop them in the comments. I would love to see them. Once again, thank you for watching, and a very special thank you to our patrons. Your support literally makes everything about this channel possible. Special thanks to Brick, Joe Wells, Johnson Detlev, Carl Schneider, MCube27, Rosnall, Scott Gastineau, Anders Martin Helly, Heratine Cardstock, Igor, Jan Schlegel, John the Wise, Mr. Gray, Strive, and the Blackout 00. We look forward to seeing you next time with more Infinite Sided Advice.